Have you ever thought, why do I suck at fantasy football? Welcome. This is the Commissioner Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hey, welcome back to another episode with the Commissioner, talking some fantasy football. Going to talk about the season today and some trades. So, to start off with, I want to make sure that the league you're playing in, that the season is structured properly. It's formatted properly. And so if you're a commissioner, make sure you format your leagues properly, and I'll discuss that right now. But if you're not a commissioner, go look at your league and look at the weeks that the league is set up to play in. It's pretty simple, but again, there's a little thing that I want everybody to know about that makes a big difference, and hopefully you're not making the mistake we used to make. So in the NFL, the season is about 17 weeks. It is 17 weeks. Now, for fantasy, your season should be 16 weeks. The reason you don't want to play fantasy football in week 17 is because a lot of key players get benched, because a lot of good teams with good players, like the ones you're going to have on your team, they're going to be benched. The team's already in the playoffs. There's no reason for that team to play them. Good example is last year, Lamar Jackson didn't play week 17. It happens every single year. So don't make that mistake of structuring your season to play your championship, especially your championship, because that's the last week in week 17. We made that mistake for like the first 2-3 years. And for us, we just wanted to play one more week of fantasy football. We were so excited about fantasy. But it does not help your cause, especially on your team, because if you build a great team and you wait until week 17 and like 3 of your top players sit out, you could lose your championship. So don't be that league. Please don't be like us. We made that mistake. We learned from it. Your championships should be week 16. Bottom line. So your fantasy football season is from week 1 to week 16. Now, one thing is going to happen during your season is everybody has a bye week. Every NFL team has a bye week. The problem with the bye week is some bye weeks have like 6 to 8 teams. It depends on the season, the NFL season. They put a bunch of teams on a bye week, and sometimes it's like a perfect storm. All your good players or your players on your fantasy team end up in a bye week. I wouldn't worry about that because, again, you could pick up players, you can prepare for that. A lot of times when I used to draft, I used to look at people's bye weeks. I stopped doing that. I gave up on that a long time ago. There's no need to go look at bye weeks. Choose the best players and you'll figure it out how to manage those couple of weeks. Maybe a bunch of players are on the bye week. So, but remember, every season there's bye weeks, and a lot of your players will be on bye weeks. Hopefully they're not all bunched up together. All right, so now the playoff format. So you have your season format, that's number 1, from week 1 to 16. No week 17. Okay? Now your playoff format, it could vary. So you can look up your league, and leagues vary. And I'll talk about 10-team leagues and then the 12-team leagues. In 10-team leagues, as a lot of leagues I play in and I commission in, we do a 6-team format for the playoffs. So 6 teams make the playoffs. When you do that in a 10-team league, 2 teams will have to go on the bye week. And so your playoffs will start week 14. So 2 teams will be on the bye week. The other 4 teams that are at the bottom will play out each other. And then, then you structure those 2 top teams will play the winners of the other teams in week 15, and so on. The winners of that week move on to the championship week 16. The championship week, again, say it with me, 16. Gotta be 16. All right. Now, I've played in leagues with 10-team leagues where there's 4 teams that make the playoffs and 6 teams don't. It makes it a lot easier, but your playoffs will start week 15 and then 16. So just 2 weeks of playoffs. And that could work as well. I don't mind that format as well, because at least week 14, you still have a chance to make the playoffs. You're fighting for that playoff spot. So that's okay with me as well. Both are fine. I've done both and both are okay. We like the little bye week. We reward the top teams to get a rest in week 14. 12-team leagues, it's pretty similar. You just can't, I mean, you could still do 4 teams making the playoffs. You could format it to 8 teams making the playoffs. But normally what I've seen in 12-team leagues is half the teams make the playoffs. So pretty simple, standard stuff. Now I'm going to get into I talked about this in the prior podcast, consolation bracket, and also what we call especially the sleeper app, which I keep talking about, has this format, and then it has a toilet bowl format, which we use. We use the toilet bowl format. So I'll discuss the difference. All the other apps, ESPN, Yahoo, NFL, they have the consolation bracket, which basically it puts the last teams at the bottom, and they play out to beat out each other. So you want to win. So you're basically saying who's going to be the championship of the bottom brackets. And that's fine. We've done it many times like that. The key thing about if you do a consolation bracket is you have to punish the people that are going to lose. It's a little harder to do in a consolation bracket because you're not playing for the loser to win out or to lose out. You're playing for the winners to win out. You could reward it that way. You could figure out whatever you want to do in your league, but make some kind of format, a punishment, some kind of reward for the bottom teams, so they will be interested when the playoffs come. They won't give up on the season. And it happens every year. The bottom teams that don't make the playoffs, they give up. So do something in your league, a punishment, some kind of an extra reward, something to keep people interested in playing at least through week 14 or 15. Most of the time, week 16, there's only 2 teams playing. Everybody's kind of watching this championship. So please figure out something in your league to keep everybody interested until week 15. That is the biggest key I found to a successful league, to a fun league where people are competing. People are in it. People are trying. People haven't given up, even if they're out of the playoffs. They keep trying. It makes the biggest difference. So that's the consolation bracket. Now there's a toilet bowl bracket, which the Sleeper app has. That's what we use. So basically what it does is, in our league, 4 teams don't make the playoffs. So the bottom 4 teams are ranked, and then whatever, we could do 7 plays 8, 9 plays 10, or we usually do 7 plays 10, and then 9 plays 8. Now what happens is, you don't want to lose out, because the team that loses out, you're the toilet bowl championship. So you're basically the loser, and there's a punishment for you. So in our league, the punishments have been various, but the biggest one we have is a pink license plate. Fantasy football loser, we decorate it with all pink glitter, and we put it in your car, and you have to put it in your car and drive around with it. It's embarrassing. I've never gone through it, but my buddies and my brother, they have gone through it, and so it's not fun. Just trust me on that. But at least it gives people at the bottom something to play for. So imagine if you're at the bottom, if you're in the bottom 4, you're picking the players, you're trying, you haven't given up on your season because you don't want to be the toilet bowl champion. So that is big. All right, so that's basically the season. I want to make sure that your league is structured properly. So go ahead and look up your league. And if you're a commissioner, please look up your league and make sure your championship is not week 17. Okay? And structure your playoff properly, and then talk to your league. This is the time right now to contact your league and say, hey, we're going to create a punishment for the bottom team. Consolation bracket or a toilet bowl champion. Call it whatever you want. If you use the Sleeper app, it gives you that option and gives you the little poop emoji, and you go in there, and our last year's champion, Steven, if you're listening, he's the toilet bowl champion from last year. But again, this is something that just keeps the league going for everybody. All right, so now we're going to talk some trades. Oh, I love trades, because trades just, you got one team, and at the end you're looking at your team, and after picking the players and all these trades, you have a whole different team. And it's just fun if a lot of people in your league are trading. So if you haven't traded this year, try to trade players. Try to go out there and make trades. And again, some trades won't be all fair and stuff, but try trading, because trading makes a league fun. A lot of fun. Now, the thing with trading, a lot of leagues have, and if you're a commissioner, listen up. Change this rule, because most leagues are set up where if you make a trade, it's like the trade is being reviewed or in the process where it doesn't go through right away, but most leagues take a day to go through, and some leagues take like 2 days to go through. So you propose a trade, and the other person accepts the trade. You made an agreement with your league mate, and all of a sudden you're waiting an entire day. And sometimes you're waiting 2 days. To me, it doesn't make sense why you have to wait. And on top of that, majority of leagues have this thing where you can set it up where people can veto. People can vote against your trade. I have a problem with this, and I'll explain. I have the biggest problem with this. I'm not going to get too angry. I have the biggest problem with this because no trade is ever going to be completely fair. And no trade is ever going to be liked by somebody else in your league. So you're going to have people that don't like your trade just going to vote against the trade just because they don't like it. And I've never seen a perfectly fair trade. You can find some trades like, yeah, that's pretty fair. But again, when you put the votes into your league and you allow them to vote to veto out a trade, people don't like trades. So if I see somebody trading and I see that guy's team getting better, if I can vote, I'm going to go in there and vote. I don't like that trade. That's not what the veto should be there for. So trades should never be vetoed or voted out by a league. It should never be like that. Again, trades will be uneven. Trades will be lopsided. Well, some team gets better and the other team gets worse. But one thing as a commissioner I've noticed, and this is what I do now for trades. When a trade is set or when the trade is agreed upon, it goes through right away. Why? Because the people that are trading, they want to match up. Or let's say it's Thursday night football and you made a trade that Thursday, right? You want to see that trade go through right away. So what I did in my leagues, I left the trade with no waiting period, no vetoing, because if I see a trade that's unfair, because that's the biggest problem. People come and say, well, a lot of trades are unfair. They're very lopsided. This team got better. What I do in my league, if we see a trade, and we have seen trades lopsided, as a commissioner, I go to both of the owners, the league mates, and I say, hey, why did you trade this? Why did you make this trade? What are you thinking? You think this player is going to get better? And usually what I get from both sides is they say, hey, I think this player is going to go off. And everybody has an opinion on their players, as long as both teams, okay, are not being manipulated, or somebody's manipulating, or collusion happens. That's the big thing that I'm going to talk about next. As long as both teams are saying, hey, I feel like I'm going to get better. That's my opinion. The other person says, hey, I feel like I'm getting better. I'm okay with that. Even if I see a lopsided or if I don't agree because I think that player is not going to go off. We all have different opinions in fantasy football. The only time, okay, that if there's a lopsided trade and there's collusion going on, meaning that they talked about it, they say, hey, and again, we'll never know what they talked about, but if I go to them and I see some kind of, and it happened in our league, one time it happened, these two guys, and you guys know if you're watching or you're listening, you know who you are. They made a little deal on the side and he traded a bunch of players away. He gave up on the season. He wasn't making the playoffs. He traded some good players away. I saw it right away. So you can see sometimes collusion pretty clearly. In those situations, again, what I do is I go talk to both league mates. They say, well, what are you thinking about the trade? And again, if I see that they're lying, you don't want to play with players like that. We kick people out for that stuff. So in that situation, again, as a commissioner, what I do is I talk to both players and I want to see their thinking process. Because again, I have people that I disagree with. Some people believe in these players that I do not believe in, okay? But they believe in them. So if they make that trade and we all think differently, that doesn't make an unfair trade that we should veto out and cancel it. So for me, I've never done that. I've never canceled trades. We only done it once because of actual collusion. You can tell when you talk to people. You can tell when they've done something wrong. And again, let's go back. Fantasy football is a game, okay? Let's be adults. Let's not try to cheat in fantasy football for whatever money. Again, at the end of the season, sure, some leagues have a lot of money you're putting into, but it's a game. Let's be honest. Again, if you find collusion in your league, Get rid of those people. They don't belong in leagues. They don't belong in fantasy. They're probably cheating in life. So again, this is fantasy football, and especially with trades. For me, that's a big one. Change that rule in your league. As a commissioner, don't give that waiting period and don't give that opportunity for your league mates to vote trades, to vote out trades, or to veto trades. Because again, nobody likes other teams getting better. And that's what happens during the trade. Some teams will get better and you're not going to like it. So that's my thing on trading. And the last thing I want to say on trading, make your deadline on trading. Every app has its own set deadline. I think sometimes week 11. We set ours now week 13. We like it. So right before the playoffs, people can still make trades. There's different opinions on that, but make sure you know when the trading deadline is, and there should be a trading deadline. That's about it for trades. But again, that's the main thing I wanted to bring up is every league I play in, besides my leagues, there's a vetoing period, there's a waiting period, and it just bugs me so much because it just doesn't make sense. So make those changes. All right, so let me conclude. Again, we talked about the season format, playoff format, your consolation bracket, toilet bracket. Make sure you know what those are, and make sure do not play week 17. Please do not let your championship be week 17. And finally, regarding trading, don't allow your league to veto out trades. I made my case. And again, make that change in your league, please. It'll make the biggest difference. And what I'm talking about again is make that trade. So when somebody makes a trade in your league, it goes through right away. And as a commissioner, your job, if there's a big lopsided trade, talk to both owners, see their thinking process, and as long as they feel like they're both getting better, again, it's not our opinion, it might be their opinion, leave it alone. Unless you find collusion, kick them out. All right, thank you again for listening. Until the next episode, season's about to start, season's coming up, so good luck in your drafts, good luck in your season, and hope you win some championships. Bye.
Dude, you better not be sleeping after that podcast. That was an amazing message. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Commissioner. Also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Any comments, questions, concerns, send them to the Instagram page, The Commissioner, your fantasy football guide.